Greetings traders, this is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is the weekly market outlook for December the 23rd to the 27th, 2019. And first off, I'm just glad to be back with you this week. So last week we did not release a video. Unfortunately, last week I was very sick from the flu, so happy to report that I am back in good health and happy to be back on the mic. And we only have 5 trading sessions left in the year. So this past week, the market logged in some all-time highs, but with only those 5 sessions left, there isn't a lot left to talk about in the year. The year is pretty much done for the most part. Whether the year ends up being a year where the S&P is up 29% or 27%, whatever the final number ends up to be, the reality is that the next few sessions are not that relevant, as for the most part, most major traders are probably done for the year. They're not going to be doing anything significant that will jeopardize any returns they may have made this year. So for the most part, we can enjoy the last few trading sessions of the year. Let's get in the charts and talk about the week that was and what we can kind of expect in the sort of lighter trading sessions that we'll probably be seeing here for the next several sessions. So there is still news coming out. There's still news rolling out. Econ news coming out on Monday. There's durable goods order. Then on Thursday there's jobless claims. So that's after Christmas. So people will have a chance to get back on the desks for a couple sessions on Thursday and Friday. And of course, they're pushing out some of the news, so you're not going to get the oil report until Friday now. Then next week, maybe we won't go there yet, but we only have 2 trading sessions before the New Year break. So again, expect that to be a lighter volume week. So let's get into the week that was and talk about what we can expect for the coming week. Because the conditions that have been in place now have been in place for some time, and it's just basically momentum carrying things higher and higher and higher. Let's begin with our VIX chart, as we often do, and this kind of tells the whole picture, right? So the VIX chart, if you want to see a chart, look at that chart there. Let's go back to the quarterly, make it even more significant. You can see it is going down, right? So VIX is now, if you take a look at the quarterly chart for the quarter of Q4, down 36, close to 37% on the quarter, right? So VIX here, eventually, as I've been saying, we'll get that reverse split. So it all started here, right? So once we got that outside inside and it went down, it hasn't looked back since. We have had no higher highs. Just as easy as that, folks. On the monthly chart, it looks like this for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 months now. Just red. This month, again, still red, only down 9%. Not as much as last month, but still a bit of month left for the VIX to continue to melt. On the weekly chart, what we're seeing here is just continuation to the downside. So we had a small blip, call it 2 weeks ago, where things popped up and took out some highs. But quickly, as we saw the mirror opposite in equities. With the VIX, they created a shooting star on all the indices. Basically, we created hammers. And so once this thing came back into the range, as soon as that low got taken out, it was back to those lows again. This week was very tight trading for the VIX. So you pretty much end up with still a negative week, minus 3%, because we did have that gap down. But, for the most part, you can see how tight that range is. So basically a doji for the week on the VIX chart. And basically, kind of what you want to look for now on the daily chart is what happens out of this situation here. So we have a gap. I'm just going to move this one here for a second. There's a gap right there. That's closer, and there's also a gap right. Let's do this. We'll move the gap right here, because perhaps that gets filled, perhaps it doesn't this coming week. We'll just note that. But right now, the condition we see here is an outside bar and down. So this is on Thursday, outside bar. That means it took out the high, that day's high, and that day's low, and then on Friday they pushed it lower, but then they bought it back, right? So now, what's the next bar going to be? Does it go outside bar down and down? That's momentum to the downside. Or if it breaks above this high on Monday, we're going to go after that pivot and then possibly a gap fill. So and there's your 8-period moving average also right there, right that area. So this would be an area that would be interesting to look for a gap fill to get into. Okay. On the SPY now, let's talk about SPY. Mirror opposite. Let's talk with the big chart first, the 3-month chart, the quarterly, and sort of like the VIX, we didn't get that outside bar, but it basically went inside bar up. So inside bar up. It's just continuation from this. All right, so it's continuation of this break to the upside. Now we've cleared the broadening formations. We've drawn way back in time, and now we're climbing it. Right, so we had that earlier in the month. We had that test of the broadening formation. Right, so price came back down, touched the broadening formation. It supported it. It held, and now it's going outside bar up, up. So that's momentum on the monthly chart. So momentum up, up, up. So until you see a low get broken, the monthly momentum is to the upside. There's actually monthly momentum to that upside. Okay, so you do not want to be shorting this thing blindly, otherwise you'll just get run over. Because right now it's a freight train to the upside, and people are hopping on because that's just, you know, especially only a few weeks left. It's very tough to be shorting a market where VIX is basically melting away. But if it does reverse, it's going to start by looking at something like this on the weekly chart. It has to break out below or break down below this prior week's low. And then you can begin to make a run at the month open right here. This is what we had the first week of December. So this is the only chance that the bears had. Their best chance, excuse me, not the only chance, but their best chance they had was when the month first began, and they took it. The bears, you know, to their credit, they took that shot, right? So what I mean by that is, if you recall, you know, several weeks back, we had drawn this purple line below this week's low and said, if it breaks below this low, it's coming back into this, you know, they're going to go after these pivots, and they did go after them. Unfortunately for the bears, the bulls are very strong, and they bought it right back, closing it back above that monthly open. That's that orange line, because when you're below that orange line, the month looks red, right? So that's a monthly candle. The monthly candle will look red. Now, back to where we're here, if we break below this low, that will not make the month red. It won't make it red until we go down here, but at least you will have taken out that pivot, and then that also puts this pivot in play there. But the bulls step up again. They defend doing something like this, right? That just shows you the strength, because yes, they take out some pivots, some short-term pivots to the downside, but they bought it back right away. So on the daily, if you recall, it looks like this, right? It was that big swoosh to the downside that finally broke this 8-period support that we had for a long period of time, right? So, you know, recall what I talked about before, way back in October when we had that crossover. Not that I care about crossovers, but it did cross over here back in October the 11th, and it just held that 8-period for one of the longest runs we've had since the SPY product has been released. So the consecutive number of days above the 8-period, it was significant. And that finally got broken here, right? It finally broke down here, but the buyers brought it back right away and pow back to new time highs. So for the coming week, this is what you would look for. How does this pattern get resolved? Inside, outside, and up now. So there's actually momentum to the upside, outside and up, because the bears could not do anything with this break to the downside. They took out these pivots with inside and down. Actually took out both sides, right? But they did not have enough power to muster to break below the weekly open. That's that purple line, and they held it. The buyers held it, and they popped it up on Friday. So outside bar up momentum, if you break below this low, right, that will then invalidate the momentum move to the upside. So that's what you want to be watching for on Monday. Something to note once again, though, is that once the buyers bought it back, excuse me, and they basically closed it above the 8-period right there, back on the 5th of December. And since the 5th of December, we're once again back above that 8-period, and that thing's holding. In fact, the 5-period's even higher up here. It's right around here, and it's trading right below the 5-period. So right now the buyers are very aggressive. You know, we had that gap up right here. This was a gap up day, and they held the gap. They could not fade it. I think they did fill it though, but they could not fade it and keep it below that weekly open. And since then, this is kind of a consolidation week now, with a bit of momentum to the upside to close the week out. Qs. Same thing, same picture. We'll get to the daily in a second here, but on the quarterly chart, outside, inside, and up, right? So outside, inside, and up. Continuation of the outside, inside break to the upside. You know, big quarter here for the Qs in Q4, up 12%. Okay, here's a momentum condition as well on the monthly chart. Outside, up, up. You gotta wait for the month to get broken, and that tested that broadening formation trend line. We talked about that already. Weekly, nice green week for SPYs. Things gapped up and they held the gap, up 2% for the for the Qs. Good green week. Once again, it's watching for the lows to get taken out in order to see a bigger reversal. What's it going to take for the sellers to break below this prior week's low? Okay, and for the Qs, this one shorter term chart to look at. The 4-hour chart looks like this. Okay, so this is this past week's trading here. So this is your Monday afternoon, inside, outside, inside is your Tuesday afternoon. It pops to the upside, so it resolves by popping up, and this is just continuation of the rest of the week. Outside, inside, outside, inside goes up, inside, and up, 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 right? So that's That's that sequence there. This little bar here on Tuesday morning stopped out people on both sides of that trade, and they consolidated, so it was a very, very tight Tuesday. And then Wednesday, it breaks the consolidation and it's gone. Similar pattern right here, right? So you see the same inside, outside, inside, and how that thing breaks, outside, inside, and it breaks. So very, very a smooth market right now. The Qs, the buyers are just stepping up and buying defending and then buying each time. Okay, now let's talk about the Russell. Russell's trying to play catch up here, having a very good month, up 2.55%. So trading relatively stronger than the Qs. So on the monthly chart, a nice green month so far. This broadening formation, it's kind of hitting the top of it now, right? So if you look at the weekly chart, this is what it kind of looks like. You recall how we talked about how this was really tight, choppy stuff, and finally now you're touching the top of the range. So the question now is, does it continue? Does it blast through and climb higher? Because now you're also tapping the Bollinger Band. So does it climb higher, or does it break below and come back through the range again? That's what you want to be watching for. If it comes back thin here, there's a chance that it can come back all the way through the range. Not that high though, because we only have 5 trading sessions left in the year. I don't think the buyers are gonna show up in mass with that little time left, but we'll wait and see. Right now, all you need to watch for is this: outside, up, up. That's momentum, right? Outside, up, up. So you're waiting for it to see how a low gets violated and that momentum would get extinguished. So in the daily, looks like this. If it's gonna start to fail, then you simply want to be waiting to see how does this begin to come back into this range, because all we had this week for the Russell was an outside bar and up condition. That's what happened. Outside bar up, and that momentum just took it all for the final the following 5 sessions. So it had a good green week there for the Russell. Moving along now, let's talk about the Dow. Dow was looking a lot like the rest of the equity indices. If we go 3-month chart, outside, inside, right? That's what we'd been waiting for a long time, and see how that's playing out, and it's still continuation. Outside, inside, up, up, up. Up 5.68% right now on the quarter. On the month, we got the Dow looking like this, just like the friends, the SPY and the Qs, and just the SPYs and the Qs. We get outside bar and up, up. So momentum move to the upside on the monthly chart. Weekly, green week, decent week there, up 0.8%. Nothing too massive, but now sitting at the top of this broadening formation range. You're waiting to see if a low can get taken out, if there's going to be a bigger reversal. So on the Dow here now, just simply watching that this condition to play out. How does this, can it? If you look at the 2-day chart, if it's going to reverse right here, so here's the weekly low, so right there on the 2-day chart, that purple line, it has to start by breaking below this low, this 2-day low here. If it breaks below that, it turns into an inside bar reversal that will then put this weekly low pivot in play. So that's what you want to be looking for this coming Monday, this week, is can this low get violated? Because if it opens up around here and all of a sudden comes back down through the range, takes out that low, this low immediately becomes in play, and that could possibly take out the prior week's low, and then you'd have a grounds for a larger reversal. It won't be large enough to turn the monthly chart red. That's going to take a lot, right? To make this, because it's already a bar that's gone to the upside. The worst case scenario is that this thing that can happen is that this turns into a red outside bar, right? Because you've already taken out one side of the range. If somehow the bears with 5 sessions left are able to bring all the firepower, they can make this thing come back all the way through the range again. And if it breaks below there, that will turn this into an outside bar that will be red to the downside. Okay, that's your worst case scenario in terms of the price action. That's all that can happen. Yes, it can certainly come all the way down here. But I'm just saying, but that's what the bar will look like. It'll be an outside bar to the downside. TSX also logged in some all-time highs. Month not up that much, up 0.5%. Very, very tight stuff. Again, the TSX likes to play really, really tight, and it just can be one of those grindy years. But it's logging a very, very good year. Look at the 12-month chart, up 19.5%. Outside bar and up. So 2018 looked very shaky when it closed, but look at that. Things change in one bar, all right? Because if you hide this bar, that looks really bad, right? You see a big red bar like that, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Just like this would happen here, right? You look at that picture, like, man, 2007 was a bad year, right? And then 2008, Okay, it had a lower low, but then it went green, and you know the rest of the story to the upside. This, same thing. Okay, it looked bad last year, but now look at it. Looks great again, doesn't it? So that's the thing. So this candle isn't as bullish as you think. It is very strong, 19.5%. And somehow the bears can break below this year's lows next year. It should invalidate this strong looking pattern. That would take a lot though. So it'd be very difficult for that to happen. More than likely, we're probably going to get another smaller year up or an inside year next year. Okay, back to the TSX on the monthly chart. So good green month, solid 0.5% right now. And on the weekly chart, it was very tight last week, and it was even tighter. Well, it was just as tight this week, although we finally got that break out of last week's consolidation. So inside week last week, and went inside weekend up. Now, just waiting to see if this low gets taken out, because if this low gets taken out, right, that will be an inside bar reversal to the downside. We're getting at the top end here of this broadening formation, right here. So now you have to see, can the buyers continue to push it, or if it breaks below this week's low, we can come back into that range. And something notable to look at is just look at the daily chart on for a second on the TSX. We had a lot of volume here on Friday afternoon, and maybe it looks like some of the sellers came in and pulled it back down near the end of the day. I'm just gonna see if the hourly yeah. So they did sell it in the second half of that session, and that's a lot of volume on the daily chart. You have to go back here, back to September the 20th. You had similar volume. And then the next few sessions you had some selling, but you have to go back a ways to see that much volume, that much green volume. So this is a potential here where, you know, maybe the buyers they definitely may have expressed their opinions, and we have to wait and see if there's any more buyers left, because that is a large volume day for the TSX. So that could be significant, something to definitely pay attention to. Let's talk EM now, emerging markets. Emerging markets came back very strong this month, because last month was a red month. But now this month, just like we talked about with that other chart, this month here didn't look so good, right? The month of November. And then not only did it start off, not only would the month close red in November, it actually went down first, if you recall. It actually went down first in December and then popped up, right? So now you get that nice outside bar to the upside. It looks strong once again, right? So outside bar to the upside. Next month, we want to see what's the next bar. Okay, what's the next bar? That one bar itself is not significant enough. So on the monthly chart, on the weekly chart, it was kind of tight. Inside week, sitting inside of last week's trading. So kind of tight stuff there. Waiting to see now how this low gets resolved. Do they break below this low, or how do they resolve this past inside week, to the upside or to the downside? So we'll mark that range in. Okay, so that's what we're going to wait and see. For now, the daily chart is outside bar and up. So it's momentum to the upside right now. If they can break above Friday's highs, there's a continuation of that momentum on the daily chart, and that will break the inside week condition. Let's talk bonds. Okay, so bonds also, with this risk on environment, the bonds have not been the place to be. So on the quarterly chart, though, actually, yeah, let's talk about the quarterly. It's kind of tight stuff. It's an inside quarter right there. Inside quarter, although, you know, you had a big Q3 up 7.75%. Now you're trading inside that prior quarter's range. Monthly chart, it gives you this inside month, and then it went down, and this is a month that had broken the prior month's high, but you're back inside the range again. So inside range trading there on the monthly chart. On the weekly chart, it's outside bar and down and down. So momentum on the weekly chart to the downside on that weekly chart. Again, note you are trading inside month though. So even though it's momentum to the downside on the weekly chart, the month itself, sorry, not inside month, it's inside quarter, you have not been able to break outside the last quarter's range. So you can just see how tight that stuff is. You're basically trading, you know, it's a tighter range. So basically on Monday, watch and see how this 2-day chart plays out. I'll be watching this. It's gone outside bar, inside bar, and down. Just seeing if there's more continuation or not. And that's going to show up here in the daily. How does it break? Right? Does it break to the upside or break to the downside? That's what to watch for on Monday. Gold, risk on environment. So how's gold been doing? Well, not so bad actually. People are kind of hedging themselves a bit with gold. So gold right now, bigger chart here, 3-month. Momentum condition to the upside still still in force. Outside bar up, inside, so just taking a break right now, right? All it's doing is taking a break. It's taking a breather for GLD, inside month trading, inside quarter trading, excuse me, and inside month trading right now. So inside stuff, tight stuff there, and inside week as well. So that just shows you how tight this stuff is. Inside quarter, inside month, inside week. You know, gold is not going anywhere right now. So very tight stuff, and maybe not the place to be, you know, looking for home runs. Although now you definitely want to be waiting and seeing how this inside bar breaks, because that will be significant. That will bring in some liquidity. You want to watch and see how this last week's range breaks out, because on the 2-day chart you already have the inside break to the upside. See, inside up. And on the daily chart for GLD you have this inside bar. Let's see how this one breaks, because that could break that inside week condition. So again, just to make note of it, right? Inside quarter, inside month, inside week, inside day. So you have a lot of insides going on GLD. So this, you know, something to be paying attention to, because right now there hasn't been no action there, but now the conditions are getting into place where you can possibly be breaking out of that. Interesting thing here is that, again, you can see how tight it is, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions trading inside of this outside bars range. That's how tight it is. Okay, so until we get outside of this range, you know, this stuff will chop you up, right? If you're trying to buy breakouts. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin now. BTCUSD, and it certainly has lost a lot of its shine for the past several months. But on the bigger picture, here's the big picture. It's inside quarter and down. This is why you're seeing, you know, the strong selling, the persistent selling is because the trend is down, right? It's people however you want to define the trend. It's easy to see when you have the higher time frame chart that the trend is down on the quarterly chart. So on the monthly chart, so you went inside quarter down already. So this is here, right? When it broke below there, it's inside quarter down. Each month we're making new lows. So yes, we've held on to the gains, most of the gains from 2019, but nowhere are we close to where we were back up here when it was 13,764. We're now trading, you know, 7160 area. Okay, so I'm still bearish on BTC, still short. You know, been short since November. If you watch the videos, you know I've been short since this sequence up here, November, right on here, 6th area, and added on this, you know, on these opportunities we talked about in the previous videos. So at this point, not a lot of trading left in the month. Let's see what happens here for BTC. Thing to note for is, you know, we have that inside week and down. The buyers did try to defend a bit here, but we do have newer lows, right? So that low is lower than that low. So this is not bullish, right? So this is not bullish. The trend is certainly down here, and you're making new lows. Now, if this thing can pop down in the Bollinger Bands, you might get a pop out of it, but right now you're not there yet. So now you just want to wait and see how something like this resolves. Look at the 2-day chart here on BTC. It's outside, inside, outside, inside. How do we break that? If it breaks to the downside, guess what? They're going after that pivot, and we're going back into lows again. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Is this is not a bottoming pattern yet. This is not a bottoming pattern. Not enough things are in place yet for this to be a situation where you trap enough traders for things to become bullish. People keep trying to time bottoms and catch these things, but they don't understand the price action required to do it. The reason why Jan, you know, you go back to my Jan videos, you know why this pattern worked already. Outside, inside. This is on a monthly chart. That's what causes large reversals. See this? Inside to the downside? That's what causes large reversals. You do not get large reversals like this on a monthly chart. Okay, it's not the same thing because people are not getting stopped out. Not enough people are getting stopped out on both sides or getting trapped to cause those bigger reversals. Here's a fun coin that I've been watching more recently. This coin's called SHITPERP. Actually, not actually a coin. Excuse me. It's actually a perpetual futures contract that tracks 50. I guess you can call them 50 low market altcoins. So, you know, if you're interested in some of these, for lack of a better word, shit coins and getting exposure and perhaps shorting these things, instead of trying to short these coins individually, which can be difficult sometimes because of the lack of liquidity, then you can use this perpetual futures contract which trades on FTX to track or even in short these low market cap coins. That's just probably the best way to put it. Low market cap coins. And the chart's very, very smooth, very, very clean. Here's the picture. All right, so is that in a downtrend? Let's look at the quarterly chart. There aren't that many bars in it. It's only 2. Is that a downtrend? Yes. So, opened up here at 958. Now it's trading at 506. Nice, close to 50% drop there. Monthly chart, very, very clean. Inside, outside, inside, right? We just talked about that pattern already on Bitcoin. Inside, outside, inside. We definitely want to know how this month's inside bar breaks. Does it remain inside month? It's very close to breaking below that low, but it's still inside month. Next month, if it remains inside month into January, you definitely want to see which way this thing breaks, to the upside or to the downside. Okay, and on the weekly chart, it's momentum to the downside. You see that? Inside, outside, and down. Okay, so momentum to the downside. Again, we're watching to see if a high can get violated to show that the momentum is being extinguished. This low here, low is 456.60. Low there, 456. So 60 cents could not quite take out that low yet. So this is not a situation yet where it's going to take out that low. So that's what you want to wait and see here, is can you get a lower low. And on SHITPERP, it's the same thing as Bitcoin. Basically, we're waiting to see how this pattern resolves. This is getting very tight. It's consolidating very, very tightly. Outside, inside, 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 right? So very, very tight sequence there. Which way and how does it break? Okay. So let's wrap things up now. I'm going to share a few equity names, and then we'll begin to wrap things up. So things to look for next week. A few for your radar. Lulu looking like an interesting setup. That's setting up for something. Outside, inside on the weekly chart. We want to watch to see how that breaks, which side of that range it breaks out of. Hertz, outside, outside, inside. So a lot of people have been chopped up here now because the outside bars are taking up both sides of the ranges. This is higher than that. This is lower than that. So you can just draw it like this, something like that. Very, very, there you go. A very nice broad information. Now you want to see how does it break this inside week, right? That will be significant. That's going to come and cause it probably to take out one side or the other of this broad information. So watch HTZ. ICPT, one of the stronger names, pharmaceuticals. Okay, inside week and up, still gunning for perhaps new highs here. So this thing has been a really good performer since October. Next, another situation where we have 2 inside weeks in a row. So a lot of consolidation now here. How does it break out of that? That'll be significant. That should bring in some liquidity. And a couple more. Let us talk about Restoration Hardware. This one here is interesting because you have a possibility of an inside bar reversal. Goes outside bar, inside bar, and then it went inside bar and down this past week. But what we know is that if this high gets taken out, that's called an inside bar reversal to the upside. And that means they're going to go after that pivot and that pivot. And then we can possibly going back to those all-time highs for RH, Restoration Home. All right, so let's just talk about a few dogs and a few winners. So some of the dogs that are on my list, some of the worst performing stocks that I'm tracking based upon a modified Sharpe ratio. Let's look at some of the daily charts here. DuPont, man, this thing has been going down. DuPont not looking any stronger, looking like a bit of a broad information occurring here, as you can see right there. This is higher than that. So slight broad information playing out like so. Okay, now let's talk about another chart we talked about already. VIX continues to go on the lows, right? So this is one of the dogs that on my watch list continues to be a perpetual short. ATI, another one, had a rough couple of weeks. So ATI going, ripping right back to the range. Anyone who got long on this sequence here give back all that money. So they got that gap up, and now that became an island, and they came back down to test anyone who is still long ATI. Overstock continues to be one that's a real underperformer, a real dog. And this thing here, man, it's had a terrible 2019 run. So what else can you say? They don't have the same CEO anymore. And what is their up with their business? Are they in cryptos, or are they still selling overstock items? What are they doing? Nobody knows. And one final one, Huya. Okay, Chinese ADR, and these things are going. This one's going close to the lows of the year. So not quite the lows of the year yet, but this has had a really rough past couple of weeks. All right, so some stars now. Merck, that's the best performing stock based on modified Sharpe ratio on my list. So the healthcare names, especially pharmaceutical names, on fire. Merck hitting those. Are we at multi-year highs? Yes, sir. We're multi-year highs, if not all-time highs. Yeah, close to all-time highs on Merck. Not quite there yet, but getting very, very close. So Merck continues to outperform. Very exceptional chart on Merck. Microsoft, Mr. Softy. Right, look at these all-time highs for Microsoft. All right, so boring stodgy Microsoft, all-time highs. And that's what that's what you expect when you have you have Qs also hitting all-time highs. Amgen, another pharmaceutical name, rocking it. Close to all-time highs, if not all-time highs there. So Amgen continues to work. This one's been on the radar for a long time now. So yeah, continue to watch Amgen. JKS, so solar name. Boom, what a nice move since November, right? So nice strong move, about to take out that pivot high there, back from 5th of September. Two more names, IBB, so an ETF for biotech. So biotech names inside this little basket, and these guys have been outperforming big time since again the beginning of October. Not looking back. And last one I'll share today is Shopify. So Shopify, really nice move, nice trending move to the upside here. And if you recall, we talked about Shopify in other videos, but it basically is going outside bar and up and up. So momentum move on Shop now. That's why these dips are being bought by people. Every time it dips, it's a buy, and people are buying Shop in the hole and expecting to go higher. Okay, so that's a wrap for this week's video. Before we wrap things up, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I hope you had a good trading year, and I hope that you have a happy and safe holiday season. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments panel, either on the blog site or on YouTube. If you like our videos a lot, please subscribe and share them with your friends and colleagues so they can learn about our work here at thetradingedge.org. And as always, have a great trading week. Happy trading.